and I was thinking about what to call it, and it's a motto that all of you have heard about, preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. And I frankly have been having this conversation with all too many people of late. We as a community are facing, I believe, dramatic changes in the way our social service network works. And we need to find new solutions. We need to find new ways to attack these problems. And it doesn't matter how much money we throw at it. Money alone will not solve the social issues that we face in our communities, and many of you know that better than I do. This is my favorite slide. You don't have to be able to read it. I'll tell you it. You're going to see it again. This is from the Nonprofit Quarterly, which is one of the leading publications in the nonprofit world. And what it does is it tracks the flow of money from sources which are across the top, the blue, the yellow, the reds, to organizations that do work on the ground, which is the green across the bottom. And the size of the circle and the size of the arrow and the size of the recipient is all relative to the size of the investment. And right down here, I don't know if you can see the arrow. Is the arrow showing up anywhere? There it is. Okay. Right there is human services. $181 billion in the United States is spent on human services. That's separate and apart from health, which is to its left, at $191 billion, and the big gorilla on the far left, hospital and nursing homes, almost $600 billion. These, by the way, are 2006 dollars. Now, I'm going to come back to this slide in a little while, but here's what I'd like you to think about. The biggest blue circle is program fees, what people pay for the service. So in healthcare, you'll see how giant that is. People go to the hospital, somebody pays, Medicare, Medicaid, private insurers, direct pay, you name it. That's an enormous source of funding. The second biggest arrow is from the federal government. The third is actually in the blues. Those are all government sources, is state and local government. But if you follow down to the green arrow on human services, which is the fourth from your left, the 181 billion, what you see is the four biggest arrows coming to it, and then we'll come back to this slide later, are program fees, those people who are paying for social services, federal government programs, we'll talk about that in a minute, state and local government at 85 billion, but actually quite large is individuals. And by the way, those individuals are bigger than corporations, which are way down in the lower right. The $14 billion, let's see if I can get you there, that's corporation giving in the U.S. And you can see that that $14 billion compared to the 200 plus billion that's given by individuals pales by comparison. Individuals also give to, you can see these two arrows that loop, they give to foundations, which has 41 billion. So you'll see that short arrow that goes just to the right of that big yellow circle in the middle on the top. And they also give to federated drives, that 19 billion. That's where the United Way is. And what you can see is a lot of that money, actually almost all of it, comes from individuals, although there's a lot of corporate money as well that comes. But this is, to me, one of the most interesting charts about how the infrastructure and fabric of our country works when it comes to social services, faith-based. You'll notice that after hospitals and nursing homes, you get to colleges and universities, and then you get to health. And you'll see that individuals don't give much to the health, if you look at the yellow arrows that go. But individuals give significant sums straight down, if you follow the biggest arrow, to religious congregations. And the religion is the number one. Actually, colleges and universities is number two. And that's in part because it's such a much bigger domain. But this is how the world works. And when it comes to both giving money and it comes to sourcing money. And this is what's yet to come. Let me explain and take a few minutes about this slide. Foundations. Private foundations, not corporate foundations, although many corporate foundations. Are there people here from corporate foundations? Anybody? Some of you are here. Most foundations, I sit on the board of one, basically give if you're a private foundation, you must by law give 5% of your ending balance. Now, you do some averaging and stuff like that, so let's not get into the details. Let's just start with that. You must pay out 5%. Most foundations, almost all, of any significance, use a rolling 12-month average, which is to stop social service organizations from all of a sudden a bad economy, we're going to cut you 30%. So they smooth the impact of the decline, and they're basically giving money in the current year based on an average of their net assets the last 3 years. Okay? We're all together here? Don't all go to sleep on me at once. Okay? And so each year you substitute the year you're in for the year that was 4 years ago. You add those together, you divide by 3, you take 5%. So if you look at this, in 2007, let me explain first. So go to the bottom, the returns. What I've taken is the returns, and these are not absolutely accurate, but they're pretty darn close to actual experience. I took 15% was about average return in 2006 for many foundations, 10% in 2007. This past year, down 20 would be great performance, by the way. Many foundations are down 30% and more. And I've estimated 2009 and 2010, the next 2 years, at 10%. Now, don't take that to the bank. I can't predict what's going to happen at December 31, 2010. I can't predict what's going to happen on July 31 this year, 2 months from now. So I have no idea what that number is. But most organizations would be happy with a 10% return in the next couple of years, I think. I then took the 5% payout, and I've showed you what happens to the asset growth. And essentially what you see is the yellow diamonds is the computed payout when you start to substitute these lower years for the previous 3 years. So in 2007, which was based on an average of 05, 06, 07, that number was about $54 million that you would distribute in this community. In 2008, you'd substitute 08 for 05, which was a pretty good year, but you still got 2 good years, 06 and 07. By the time you get to 2010, using these assumptions, the average asset is less than it was in 2005, and the 3 years in your model are so low that you've now taken the payout from $54 million to about $46 million. That is what's going to happen in this community over the next 2 years. And these organizations are enormous sources of funding for the arts, for social service, for many of the charities and many of the organizations that we depend on and rely upon in this community. So let's go back. The biggest circle on the page, programs from private sources, is going to continue to be impacted severely by the fact that we're going to have 120,000 people over the next year out of work. They can't pay. All you have to do is look at what's going on today. The federal government, as you well know, is dramatically cutting its programs for social service and its support of many, many institutions around the country. State and local government, you'd have to have been on the moon for the last 6 months to not hear what's going on there. Our legislature never came to a conclusion on a budget. The estimates are anywhere from $1 to $4 billion of shortfall in the biennium. You know where they're going. They only have so many places they can cut. Hennepin County Medical Center, where I've been involved for many years and served in a volunteer capacity, is looking at they have about a $450 million budget. They are looking at a cut from the state government next year, just from the state government, of over $50 million.